Brilliant. Okay. So, welcome everyone to the first workshop for 2025. Apologies, we've been a bit late starting after Christmas, but we've had a few things going on at our end, including moving to a new CRM, which we might talk about more in a future episode. But at the moment, today I want to talk about the compliance advantage and what businesses know about GDPR that others may miss. So let me just share my screen and then hopefully we can okay, so you should now be able to see my screen. So as I say, the compliance advantage, what businesses know about GDPR that others miss. So what we're going to run through today is the benefits of GDPR and how to achieve them, what those benefits actually are in terms of enhanced customer trust, improving your data management, improving your competitive advantage, giving you an advantage over your competitors, risk mitigation, how they can actually increase the efficiency of your business and your data processing, how that in itself can then lead to better decision making, then some hints on how to get started, then some key takeaways, and any questions and answers. So the benefits and how to achieve them. I think the main thing to say with this and how to achieve them is get your whole team on board. I'm a firm believer that GDPR done right is a case of mindset over rule set. And if you get the mindset right, then the rules come easy. So, concentrate on getting the mindset right. And I think it's worth saying that compliance is not a cost, it's an investment in trust. And I think if you can get that mindset that, so yes, some things might take you fractionally longer initially until you get into the swing of it, until you get the muscle memory that says this is how we do these things. But the benefit of that long term to your organization can be great. One of those things is enhanced customer trust. We all want our customers to trust us. We all know that the old traditional cycle of know, like, trust still holds true even today. If you don't trust someone, you're not going to do business with them. And having good GDPR policies in place, proving that you stick to them, is actually a good way of enhancing customer trust. And a survey found that 78% of customers are more likely to trust companies with strong data protection practices. And don't you want to be in that 78%? You want to be where your customers are trusting you. So how do you build that trust? How do you get that trust in place? One of the first things is to publish a clear privacy policy. Make sure that your privacy policy is very clear and that it's understandable, it's in plain English, people can understand it, and that it's up to date. Because I know personally, okay, hands up, I'm a bit of a GDPR nerd, but if I go onto a website and I look at the privacy policy and it was last updated in 2018, or even worse, 2016, I'm probably less certain about doing business with that company or organization, because it says to me, actually, they don't care that much. So make sure you've got a clear privacy policy, make sure it's up to date. It shouldn't be any more than a year old at most. And the other thing which improves the trust is that if people do make a data subject access request, which we're covering in a different session, but can be as simple as someone saying, "No, I want to know what data you hold about me," can be much more precise than that. But whatever the request is, and even if you're going to say no to it, and you're going to say, "Actually, we can't provide that information," then do it promptly. Because if you dilly and dally over it, if you take your time over it, then that data subject may well take to social media and say, "I've contacted so and so and so about all I want is the information they hold," and they're not telling me anything. And that again, that feeling of somehow cloaking things, of secrecy, can make people wary about dealing with you. So don't do that. If you get a data subject access request, respond to it promptly. Should sound that, of course, you only have 30 days to respond to it anyway, once you've confirmed the identity of the person. But if you can do it well within the 30 days, even better. 30 days is a maximum. It's not a target. So if you can do it sooner than that, then do. Part of all this is part of this um, using GDPR and improving your business is improving your data management. And that means conducting regular data audits. Look through your data, your personal data. What are you holding? Why are you holding it? What do you do with it? And when do you get rid of it? And if you're not sure on any of those questions, then really you've got a problem because you should be in a situation where you know what data your business is holding, what it's doing with it, why you're keeping it, and when you get rid of it. Simple steps, but they are so, so important. And we have some tools that you can use for that data mapping and categorization. In GDPR parlance, it's called an Article 30 register, which is your register of processing activities. But it really is worth doing because I've found in my experience is with clients is that often when we start looking through what data they hold, they're holding data from 10 years ago and they've got no damn idea why they're still holding it. Well, get rid of it because it has two things there. A, it makes you look better, but B is if you haven't got the data there, A, you don't have to hunt through it to find it if someone makes a subject access request. B, you haven't got the data there to be stolen if you have a data breach, because if the data's not there, people can't steal it. So just think about cutting down on the data that you hold. So competitive advantage. How can good GDPR give you a competitive advantage? Main thing to say is highlight your compliance in marketing materials. Be proud about the fact that you're GDPR compliant. Put your GDPR registration number on the bottom of your marketing material because again it just shows that extra little touch of what you actually care about people's data. And part of that care as well, of course, is ensuring that your team have up-to-date GDPR training. I lose count of the number of people I speak to who say, oh yeah, we had GDPR training, yeah, when it came in. Well, it came in 2018, that's 7 years ago now. It really is. If you that's the last time you had training. To use an example I used with somebody the other day, if you had a car, you wouldn't wait 7 years to put it into the garage for a service. So don't let your GDPR go 7 years with no extra training. Get some extra training. It doesn't need to be that expensive, but it can have big benefits. The other important thing is about mitigating risk. And good GDPR, again, good data processing can help you mitigate risks. How? Well, first of all, implement robust cybersecurity measures. Make sure you're using things like two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Make sure that people aren't using the same password on every system across your whole business. Make sure that you're changing passwords regularly, but don't go mad. There's no point saying to people, you must have a 20-character password that's got capital letters and numbers and special characters in it, and you must change it every 7 days. Because if you do that, people will write it down. They'll stick it on a post-it note on the corner of the screen. Destroys the whole point. So don't go overboard in how often you make people change passwords, but do make them change them, I don't know, at least a couple of times a year. And the other thing is to have a data breach response plan. So you know that if you had a data breach, what would you do? So if someone hacked in, you came in this morning and someone had hacked into your system, what would you do? And it shouldn't be then, I don't know what I'd do. I haven't thought about it. Have a plan that you know what you would do. And this is the reason I've underlined it there because it is important, is to test that data breach response plan. I was involved a few years ago now with a disaster recovery plan for a financial services institution in the Channel Islands. And we carried out a test on a winter weekend. And it's fair to say the only bit of the disaster recovery plan that worked was the disaster. So, it is important that you test it. It's fine having it in a folder. It's fine having it written down saying, yeah, that's what we do. But does that of what you would do actually work? So test it, and then go public about the fact you've tested it, because then again it's showing that you care. Um, Reducing the amount of data that you hold also makes your business more efficient. Um, and it's important to, it's worth investing in things that automate data retention schedules. So that if you say you only hold employee data for up to 5 years after they've left, then you know that that's true because you've got a procedure that goes through once a month and deletes anything that's older than that. Now, that might say it might be automated, it might be semi-automated, it might be just a process that you follow or one of your staff follows. But it is important to do it, because if you say we only keep payroll data for 3 years after somebody leaves, and then you have an audit 6 years after they leave and you've still got that data, you're going to get a fine. And you don't want a fine. You don't want all the publicity that goes with it. So just make sure you've got these data retention policies in place. And again, it's about training your staff on GDPR compliant practices. Because all of that data, once it's cleansed, once you've got data that you know is up to date, that you know is accurate, means that your business can make better decisions. And if you're using analytics to derive insights, it's better to do that on clean data. The more regularly you update and validate the data, the more likely it is to be correct. Because we know from practical experience that if data is less than a year old, it's far more likely to be accurate than data that's 5 years old. So spend that time updating. But again, from a business perspective, take advantage of that update. What a great time to tell your customers about new things you're doing. And then throw into that message, oh, and by the way, can we just check the details we've got online for you are correct? I saw a company recently who were doing this, and I thought they did it really, really well, because what they were doing a quarterly newsletter out to their customers. And each quarter they were picking a different part of customer data. So it might be phone numbers one quarter, it might be email addresses the next quarter, it might be, I don't know, postal addresses the next quarter, but making sure that was up to date. And because it was there in the newsletter, people were likely to read it anyway. And then they might go, oh, yeah, I have moved. Or, yeah, my email address isn't with them anymore. And it just means that they just change it and update it and get it updated and validated. It means you're making insights on accurate data. So how do you get started in all this? Well, you won't be surprised to say, or you won't be surprised to hear me say, I should say, that conduct a GDPR compliance assessment, have an audit. So see where you're at, because how you can't improve on something if you don't know what it is you're improving on. If you don't know what state you're in at the moment, how do you then plan to improve on that? Because you don't know where you're at. So conduct an audit. Doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to take a great deal of your time, but do conduct that audit, or have that audit conducted by someone like myself. What is important is that you engage stakeholders across all your departments of your business, because it's important to get management buy-in. Because if management buy into an idea, likely it is all your staff will buy into the idea, because the management hopefully will enthuse about it, and that enthusiasm spreads and everyone wants to do it. But you're not going to do it overnight, and that's why I say use the phased approach. Have your data audit, look at your policies. Once you've got those in place and they're right and people are happy with them, then do the training. And then it's just a case of continual monitoring, and that's not monitoring every day. It doesn't even monitor every day. Monitor once a year, but just make sure that it's being kept up to date. And as I put there, leverage GDPR consultants like myself. If you need to, if you don't have the skills in house to do it, well then, outsource it. Let someone like me do it. So the key takeaways, I hope, are that GDPR can increase the trust of your organization, increase your efficiency, help with your risk mitigation, and increase your competitive edge. And as I say there, turn compliance into opportunity, embrace GDPR today. And then any questions, and my contact details should be there too. We obviously not got people live here this morning, which is a shame. Hopefully we get more people live at the next one. But if you do have any questions, please do just email me. I'd be more than delighted, more than happy to help you with the answers to any questions. And with that, I will stop sharing. Hopefully